What's up, everybody? Jackson Fuller here alongside Owen Hassell, here to discuss another week of Friday Night Football. Owen, I think we're both eternally grateful that we only had a 1-week hiatus instead of a 3-week hiatus with the hurricane this fall.
Hard not to think about last year with Florence, and first of all, what's more important is people being safe.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also do think, selfishly, because you cover sports, that this could be 2, 3, 4 weeks, and all of a sudden you've got a backlog throughout the states, and then you've got state championships being played basically on Christmas Day, and all those things go through your head. But yeah, thankful that Dorian was a much calmer situation for the majority of the state.
Yeah, we Southeast North Carolina, I think in general, got pretty lucky compared to, especially a lot of the area got damaged pretty hard with Florence. So just very thankful that we have football to cover this Friday instead of trying to, find our way to our homes and try and find our way to, assess the damage out there. Real quick, we're going to hit a lot of games this week in this video. Usually we try and keep it succinct, but I think we're going to, we try to keep it succinct. We kind of struggle with that. We're going to touch on a lot of different games this week, but we're going to try and be really quickly, try and get through those really quickly. We're covering 3 games this Friday night. South Brunswick at Ashley is where I'll be. 2 Mid-Eastern Conference teams playing each other in a non-conference game. I'll have a story at Friday's paper and online Thursday about how that game kind of got scheduled. And real quick, South Brunswick probably the favorite, but 2 teams that when they look at each other on the schedule, they say that's a game that we have to win.
Yeah, if you're Ashley, this might be your best chance of a victory this year. So that's to be considered. South Brunswick obviously got off such a great start in week 1, but then slips up a bit. So I think there's a little bit more pressure on South Brunswick, especially because Coach Rocky Lewis been there a few years, is really high on his team as well. So I think more of the pressure's on South Brunswick. If you're Ashley, you're still doing the rebuilding job, Coach Wilson Helms and company. So you're looking for those just little things that you could say, hey, here are some victories for us. I didn't use the term moral victory. I didn't say that yet. Just the little things that your players are doing, young players probably, where you can say, hey, you're doing this better. You're working on this better. We will continue to grow. At least I'm seeing growth. We're not taking necessarily a step back. So you're looking at that too. Yeah,
South Brunswick, I'm really looking forward to seeing Roman Dilgard, their quarterback this year. I think he's already thrown for close to 400 yards in just 2 games, which is an added element to South Brunswick this season. So looking forward to seeing the Cougars and Screaming Eagles and where Ashley's at the beginning of a real building process. South Brunswick's hoping to be a little bit further along. How are they in reaching their goals this season? Trask at North Brunswick. The Titans 0-3, struggling under first-year head coach Brandon Proctor. North Brunswick 1-1. Jonathan Taylor gets to face the Titans this year, the former head coach at Trask, now the offensive coordinator with the Scorpions. I'd say North Brunswick's probably the clear favorite in that one, and for Brian Davis getting that second win early this year after just having 2 all of last year.
Said it before, when you lose a game like Trask lost against Wallace Rose Hill, 71-0 was the final score, something along those lines. You don't want that to become 2 losses because that's going to still be on the kids' minds. And on a short week as well. Is North Brunswick still the favorite? Absolutely. But you just want to see how your guys can compete.
Improvement.
Okay? I don't mean to sound much like I was saying with Ashley, but with Trask, you're in a similar ballpark. You don't have a win either.
These 2 games are very similar situations. You just have the team that's a little earlier in the rebuilding process at home, and Ashley, where Trask is on the road against North Brunswick. White Oak at Topsail. I expect the Pirates to cruise. Worth noting, Tanner Barth with WWAY said last night that he was at the game, Topsail beating Dixon, and he said Noah LaValle done for the year. So, prayers out to Noah. Hope for a speedy recovery. Hopefully we get to maybe see him on the wrestling mats this season. Who knows? But that's a tough loss for the Pirates for sure. They've been happy with Bernie Burns, their running back, Cody Wallace, really slinging the ball around, 700 passing yards in just 3 games. I think the Pirates will be they're going to miss Noah a lot and a leader, but they should be if they can replace him enough, they should be okay. They've got guys like Gavin Ellis offensively. Another game with a clear favorite in my mind. I think Topsail should cruise.
Yeah, what helps Topsail is they're not a one-dimensional team.
No.
Maybe you could have said that 2 years ago when LaValle was a sophomore freshman. Boy, it's his team, even though he's so young then. You can't say that now. And yeah, you never want to lose somebody of that caliber because he's going to get you at least 1,000 yards. He's done that the last 3 years and hasn't been 100%. majority of those 3 years. So yes, it's a loss, but now if you're Coach Wayne Inman, you can say, well, now we can really look toward the future, look at a Benny Burns, look at somebody else, get them some reps, especially in these games you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've done that well. Cody Wallace threw a touchdown pass in the dark.
He did throw a touchdown
you saw
pass in the
that.
dark.
So maybe Topsail's going to be just fine, even though that's still a blow regardless, because a great kid, Noah Valley.
Yeah.
And
I think
maybe he comes back for wrestling. I'm not sure.
Right. I think it'll definitely hurt them when they get into Mid-Eastern Conference play against the likes of Hoggard and New Hanover and West. But I think for in terms of getting them to that 4-0 and going into the Mid-Eastern Conference, very confident, it shouldn't be an issue this week. And those are the 3 games that we're covering. Trask at North Brunswick. You can follow Joey Chandler on Twitter at @byJoeyChandler for updates of that one. White Oak at Topsail, our stringer from UNCW, Mr. Noah Powers, will be covering that. You can follow him at TealNoah23. Outside the area this week, New Hanover at Northside Jacksonville. I think that's kind of a game that a lot of people are circling. New Hanover played 2 relatively easy opponents in their first 2 games of the season. Northside Jacksonville, the Wildcats beat them last year. I think they've beaten them each of the past 2 years. But it's a step up in competition. Northside Jacksonville has the Crowley kid who's going to Carolina, a lot of athletes on that field. New Hanover's they're going to want to run the ball just like they have been with their 3 backs. So it'll be interesting to see how New Hanover does in their first, I'll say true test of the season going up to Northside Jacksonville.
Yeah, if you're Coach Dylan Dimick, you want to say, we have won the games we're supposed to win already.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're playing a much more quality opponent. What else do we still need to fine-tune? What else is still out there? And then for any team, if any coach says, well, we fine-tune everything right now, they are full of it. Obviously have
and
not.
And Dimick's not saying that.
And he's not saying that whatsoever. He's been very clear, at least with your coverage and what you've read about it. No, there's obviously still things to work on. We realize we're supposed to win those games, but this is a game where some more things could probably be seen. Mm-hmm. And perhaps players will these are kids. And they're going to be high on themselves, and they've won 49-0 and running clocks the first 2 games. You can't quite get that out of their head. You don't want it to get completely out of their head because, they played well.
They have.
But where are some needs for improvement, especially this close to conference play? I'm sure that's what coach is looking at.
Yeah, and 2 tough non-conference games to close before Mid-Eastern with Northside Jacksonville, and then next week they're going to be at home against Jack Britt, who's off to a 3-0 start. Hoggard at Carolina Forest. The Vikings, 0-1, took a little bit of a beating against Scotland County, which is no shame. I mean, the Scots are going to do that to a lot of teams this year. But Carolina Forest is the real deal. Their quarterback, Mason Garcia, is committed to ECU, and the Carolina Forest came to Hoggard last year with that really senior-laden team that the Vikings had and beat Hoggard. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Vikings, and they've received some bad injury news themselves with senior running back Jordan Rickey, torn ACL, torn MCL out for the year, and then senior linebacker Garrett Manning has a broken collarbone. They're expecting to get him back. They're hopeful it'll be before the end of the regular season, but they think they'll probably have him back for the playoff run. The Vikings could start 0-2. I mean, that wouldn't be a surprise to me at all. I think they probably feel like they can go down to South Carolina and get a win, but if they come back 0-2, it's not, that won't be a surprise.
Yeah, what do we know about Hoggard yet? It's really hard to tell because you had the South Robeson game that was canceled, and then your first game's at Scotland, and you have a couple of mistakes early. It just snowballed for them. Then you have the storm. It's like anything. It's a Murphy's Law situation for Hoggard right now. Anything that could have happened rough has happened. I believe it'll definitely right itself, especially in conference play. I don't think this is an indication of, well, maybe Hoggard will only finish 4th in the Mid-Eastern. I don't think anyone's saying that. They shouldn't say that. No. It's just they're playing tough competition, and there's been some schedule situations, things out of Hoggard's control that have happened.
And last week against Scotland, they fell behind. They had to throw the ball, which, Gabe Johnson's a more than capable quarterback, but against that Scotland pass rush with some inexperienced receivers, I think Craig Underwood's going to want to try and maybe get out to an early lead and run the ball well and keep the Garcia quarterback off the field for Carolina Forest this week. I want to say, I said I wouldn't be surprised if they're 0-2. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they go down to Carolina Forest and get a win and come back 1-1. Finally, Wallace Rose Hill at Havelock. Havelock's definitely taken a step down this year. They're still Havelock, though. The Bulldogs, they're crushing everybody they play so far. 71-0 over Trask. They've beaten Southwest Onslow and East Bladen pretty easily. I think the Bulldogs are going to go to Havelock and win that game. And 4-0, I don't think Wallace Rose Hill has been undefeated in the non-conference schedule in a while. Maybe 2 years ago, actually, they did because they lost to East Duplin in the conference schedule. But still, you look at that. Havelock, Southwest Onslow, East Bladen are three teams that are normally really good, and Wallace Rose Hill has a chance to have beaten all three of those teams to start their season.
Wallace Rose Hill's not playing Wake Forest.
Oh man, I keep forgetting with Wallace Rose Hill.
So Wallace Rose Hill's going to beat Wake Forest. There's no doubt about it. That's what Jackson Fuller's telling you right now.
They're the one team in the area that plays more than 4 non-conference games. Excuse me, you're right.
No, you said it right. Wallace Rose Hill's going to beat Wake Forest. No doubt about it. That's what Jackson Fuller's saying right here.
I said that. I don't believe that. Anyways, that's going to be a test.
I was just checking first to make sure that's actually still in the schedule with the storm and everything.
It is still on the schedule. That'll be
supposed to play Cardinal Gibbons last year, and it didn't happen because of Florence. Different scenario, but sort of the same thing.
No, you're right. Man. Okay, let's see. Wallace Rose Hill might not be undefeated.
This will not be an edited video. This is staying in.
It won't. This is staying in, and we're running it especially long. I thought we were going to do a good job of cutting it down.
It's too late now. We passed that cut. Let's just roll. Let's keep going.
So at Havelock, Wallace Rose Hill should win, and then they will have a really stiff test against Wake Forest.
And I'm going to take it another step because we can see now Wallace Rose Hill's going to be back to being Wallace Rose Hill things this year. Not that they took a huge step back last year, but running backs that they have this year that are a year older, wiser, everything on the line, etc. Kevin Mottsinger, great coach. Who gets the top seed in the 2A East? Because Northeastern has played a heck of a non-conference schedule, beating Greenville Rose, Conley, one of the top teams in Virginia. That Wake Forest game, even though it's going to be a great experience for Wallace Rose Hill, that's likely a defeat. And then you get into playoff time, you might have Wallace Rose Hill with a loss, Northeastern with no losses.
Yeah, well,
it's an interesting thing with playoffs, and I know it's early to talk about playoffs. I get that, but we're looking at the team schedules and who they're going to lose to.
You're right, and I think Northeastern, even if let's say my little goof there was the truth, and Wallace Rose Hill wasn't actually playing
then we're in a whole new scenario.
Forest. Even if Wallace Rose Hill ran the table and went undefeated, putting their schedule against Northeastern's, Northeastern's playing a lot of 3A, 4A teams and beating them. I wouldn't be surprised. I think you're right. I think you got to lean towards Northeastern being the number 1 seed, but Wallace Rose Hill they've gone to Northeastern in the past and won that game. So
that's right. 2 years ago.
I think the Bulldogs they'll take their chances.
Oh, they're not scared. No one's saying Wallace Rose Hill's scared of anybody, any place, anytime. That's why they would schedule Cardinal Gibbons and Wake Forest. And Cardinal Gibbons beat Wake Forest this year. So they've scheduled tough opponents too, and Wallace Rose Hill's not afraid to play anybody.
Never.
It's just interesting to already see that because it seems like that is shaping up a lot easier than even the 3As and the 4As from here who could be the seeds. I don't even want to get into those conversations because we just I don't think we know as much.
Yeah, and I couldn't even give you 2 teams from the 3A or 4A ranks right now that I would expect to be in the Eastern Final. But if you told me pick that 2A bracket, I would say Wallace and Northeastern have a great shot at meeting each other to go to a state.
And not just that you are pretty certain they're going to be in the small 2 or the big 2. Mm-hmm. And Wallace Rose Hill and Northeastern are going to be in the small 2. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. And out west, Shelby could be in the small 2. That would make that thing interesting because Shelby and Reedsville will be fighting it out.
Right.
So it's one thing you almost don't want to talk about playoffs this early, but it's always in the back of your mind. Then you have to think about
that's what you play.
That's what you play. Absolutely. And then who's in the big and who's in the small? Who's in that middle? Mm-hmm. And right now, there are some schools we don't know about that for sure.
Want to mention real quick, if you're still watching, Wallace Rose Hill ranked 3rd in the 2A poll this week by the AP. New Hanover ranked 7th in the 3A, and West Brunswick ranked 9th in the 3A. They got 2 first-place votes, which that's a little high if you ask me. I think West Brunswick's got a lot of potential in the Mid-Eastern Conference, and they're going to be one of the best defenses across the state. But 1 win over Whiteville and got them 2 first-place votes. Hey, congrats to the Trojans. Brett Hickman quoted my tweet today and said, "Doesn't matter. We're going to play and try and win, and the ranking doesn't matter." But I'm sure
you need to say that for the public. But
I'm sure the people in Cholo are excited about.
And you're the players. You're telling the players, "Hey guys, we are being recognized. We still have a heck of a lot to do. There's no question about it. But we're already being recognized because there are some people that realize we're a good team. We know we're a good team." Now we can really show them something because we're in that poll and more eyeballs are going to be looking at us. There's a number of ways to look at it other than just simply, doesn't matter, it's just a poll, no one cares. People do care. Otherwise, no one's voting in it, no one even looks at it.
Yeah. The West Brunswick, they're playing at Cary this week, so that'll be a good challenge down in one of those schools from the Raleigh area. So, as always, follow on Twitter at Star News Varsity, Facebook.com/Star News Varsity. We'll have game stories, video, photo galleries, and plenty more from the Friday night of football ahead. And again, thankful that the hurricane didn't disrupt too much of the football season. And we're talking about playoffs, which seem far, but we're really closing in on conference season when those wins and losses really start to mean something. So appreciate you guys watching. Everybody have a great rest of your week and enjoy the weekend.